I'm so sorry for being later than usual. YouTube with their new system they just had to make it so overcomplicated. It was insane. Like if I had the stream broadcasting, it would not let me ever. It would not let me set settings at all before starting. It automatically assumed I wanted to jump straight into a stream without setting up any kind of settings or thumbnail or pretty much anything first. It's I don't know why YouTube would do that. Like and take it and I finally have the start stream and end stream button back. Like because I use this new way, but not God forbid I start broadcasting from OBS, then it assumes you wanted to keep everything the same and start right away. I have no idea why YouTube changed it. Seriously. Anyway, I'm so sorry, you guys. We're back to Higurashi. So yes, for the extended wait, I really needed to catch up on some rest, and I didn't want the schedule to be out of whack. So Higurashi had to take a hit, and besides, we need Higurashi's days to be extended a bit anyway to save time for Chaos Head, which, if all things stay on schedule, may or may not be at the end of the month. I would love that. So, anyway, back to Higurashi. Last time, Tomoe's boss took her on a tour of Tokyo, and a apparition, by the way, and we got a little preview of what might happen in the next time. Like I gotta say, Tomoe's boss, he is kind of pushy. Like there are moments where I could swear that they're kind of foreshadowing him to be a villain, but other times I would say that Tomoe's boss, like no, he's gonna be a good guy, like without. But then like, oh wait a minute, like he's doing all this shady shit. Like I honestly don't know what to think about him. Like her boss is just so enigmatic. And it's like, oh yeah, there is apparition. I just put it there. Yep. Don't worry about that. Sorry about that, but thank you. So, and also, but I have a feeling that they also introduced an ex boyfriend who they seem to have left on amicable terms of Tomoe's, who is a politician. And given that he looks a lot like Adachi from Persona 4, hello, Void Dweller. I swear, like, I didn't get it quite at that time, but Tomoe's ex boyfriend looks a bit Adachi ish. Uh, oh no. You can't hear me? Oh, I'm so sorry. Really? Oh god. Sorry. Let's see, how about, wait, let's see. What can I do? Oh, I know what to do. All I have to do is just adjust it on this little thing here. Okay. And, you should be able to hear me better now, right? Hello T, welcome to the stream, Hello Void Dweller. And, yep. Anyway, let's get back into it. Oh, it's still quiet? Is it still quiet? Can anyone else hear me? Or is it soft for everybody else? Oh, it's better now. Okay. The stupid delay. Jeez. Okay, let's see. And 3 uploads. What? Oh god. That's because it's probably having something to do with YouTube fucking things up. Oh my god, it did the seabed thing. I could see that. A 21-second stream, apparently. Because YouTube apparently thought that was something I could do. That I would actually want to keep. Anyway. Yep. It's okay, away. Thanks. Alright, let's get back into it. We've wasted enough time on random banter about YouTube's changing the streaming system and being a complete asshole about it. And we already did the tip because that was short, so yeah. Sunday, October 10th, 1982.
Oh, Minai-san!
I think this is just some random guy. Oh, Minai-san, thank you for your service.
お疲れ様です。
Thank you too.
久しぶりね、カジ君。元気だった？
Long time no see, Kaji-kun. I hope you've been well.
はい、おかげさまで。
Of course, all thanks to you. A young, familiar-looking officer standing guard by the entrance answered her in a booming voice as he saluted her. He had just graduated from the police academy last spring and still retained his student-like innocence. Finding that innocence was heartwarming, Tomoe gave him a pat on the shoulder and said, "Do your best," before passing through the automatic door at the entrance. As soon as she stepped inside, the uniquely old-fashioned atmosphere tickled her nose.
変わらないな。
Hasn't changed a bit. Tasting the familiar air of her old workplace after such a long time brought a smile to her face. Of course, only 3 months had passed since she transferred to the National Police Agency, so it couldn't have changed that much.
おっと、いけない。
Whoops. Can't do that. Tomoe returned to her senses after getting lost in her nostalgia. She walked over to the information desk and said, "Excuse me," to the female police receptionist. Unfortunately, it was a face she didn't recognize, so Tomoe pulled out her police badge to identify herself.
柿内署のミナイと申します。
I'm Minai from Tokihogushi Station.
お約束をいただいておりました捜査一課長の本庄さんをお願いできますでしょうか。
I have a meeting with the section chief of the 1st Investigation Division, Honjo-san. Would you mind contacting him? The receptionist escorted her to one of the conference rooms, where she waited for a few minutes. Just as she was about to put a hand on the tea served for her, she heard footsteps beyond the door. Once the door slid open, an old detective emerged.
相変わらず生真面目じゃな。
What is with the sound effects? It's like they have 2 sound effects that they're just trying to get as much mileage of as humanly possible. They have the freaking gun cocking sound effect, which was for some reason used here, and they have the freaking a glove stretching sound effect, which again doesn't really fit kind of anywhere. Like, it's so weird. I don't think I've ever had as much issue with the sound design of a visual novel as I have with the console arcs right here. Y'all look just as serious as always.
別に窓口から呼び出さなくても直接一個室に来ればいいじゃねえか。
You didn't have to call me from the front window. You could have come straight to the 1st Division office.
いえ、今日は公式のご用でお伺いしたわけじゃありませんので。
No, I didn't come here today to discuss official business.
皆さんには落ち着いてから日を改めてご挨拶させていただきます。
I'll pay everyone a visit on another day and give them a proper greeting after things have calmed down.
あ、これつまらないものですが。
Oh, I did bring you a little something. As she said that, Tomoe sat down in the seat across from the detective with 2 bottles in hand and presented them to Section Chief Hanjo. This first-class sake, purchased in Kakuichi.
おおこれはありがてえな
Thanks a lot.
いやこっちではなかなか手さ変なやつだから喜んでいただくべ
This stuff's hard to get your hands on, so I'm thrilled to accept it.
以前本庄さんが飲んでみたいとおっしゃっていたことを思い出しまして。
I recall you mentioning once before that you want to drink some, Hanjo-san.
出発前に仕入れたばかりの品を2本いただいてきました。
I picked up 2 bottles just before I left.
しかしだったらなおさら上さん上がってみんなでいっぱいやってかねえが
Why do we get everyone to have a drink together?
いえ、まだ私は公務中ですから。
No, I'm still on duty, and aren't you?
それに送別会で皆さんに盛大に祝ってもらってからそんなに日も経っていませんし、顔を見せるのはちょっと恥ずかしくて。
Plus, it hasn't been that long since we all celebrated at that big farewell party, so I'd be a little embarrassed to show my face here.
ああそんだそんだ
Yes, of course.
ともえちゃんとき最後の挨拶でワンワン泣いちまったんじゃったな
You were crying at your last meeting, weren't you, Tomoe-chan?
いえ
No, I wasn't.
決まり割りであん時ことは忘れてください。
Forget about that! It's embarrassing! Oh, come on, Tomoe, you're allowed to have a heart. She thought back to that farewell party, shaking hands with everyone while her face was bright red. I guess she just wants to project that like, hardened, lady detective image. Like I think that's something with her. She loves to have that like ice queen image of herself, and gets really flustered when something happens to break that, which is kind of adorable. And it's interesting. This chapter we're seeing a lot of another side of Tomoe. We're seeing her more naive and innocent side, to show that she's still a young woman, rather than even though she has a lot of experience as a detective, which I think is a fascinating way to take the character, especially after all that we've done with her for the past 3 arcs. She's still not quite grasped the fact that just because she doesn't have an experience, that doesn't mean that experience doesn't happen to other people regularly. Because her situation, I gotta say, was pretty unique. Her father was a good friend of the chief, and thus everyone knew her beforehand, at the station, and she was probably welcomed with open arms as a result of that. Whereas if she was unrelated to anyone at the station in any way, I imagine her journey to where she is, where she wanted to be as a detective, would have been quite different. Anyway, back to the story. And after seeing that, Hanjo let out an even bigger laugh.
いやーしかし新しい職場でも大活躍って噂じゃねえか
Alright! Anyway, rumor is you're having a lot of success at your new workplace, eh?
さすが推薦組のエリートに選ばれた逸材じゃ
I'd expect no less from someone chosen to be part of the elite recommended group.
一時でもおめえさんを持ってたことがオラの誇りだべ
Our time together was short. I'm proud of you.
そんなやめてくださいよ。
Stop. Enough of that.
本庄さんにいろいろ教わったことを忘れずに現場で応用しているだけなんですから。
I haven't forgotten everything I've learned from you, Hanjo-san, and I've been able to apply that knowledge in the field.
謙遜せんでええって
Don't be so humble.
ともえちゃんほど教え芸のある部下はいなかった
I've never learned as much from a subordinate as y'all,
Tomoe-chan.
何度失敗しておごられでもそのたんびに反省して努力して
I think that the Uishi slash Rudolph voice fits this guy way better than Uishi. But, you know, what are we gonna do? At least it works for him. Probably doesn't seem to be that important because, you know, he doesn't have a sprite and we're not even seeing Tomoe's sprite here for some reason.
Don't be so humble. I never learned as much as important as y'all. Tomoe-chan, no matter how many times you failed and got upset, you put in the effort to reflect on every single case.
他の若え奴らにも見習わせてよ
Heh, the other youngsters could learn from your example.
ありがとうございます。
Thank you very much.
でも頑張ってこれたのは本庄さんのおかげです。
But it was all thanks to you that I was able to work so hard. Hanjo-san. Yeah, I think Rudolph's was a bit deeper, but it's the same general tone. Yeah. Void Dweller, yeah.
お世辞じゃなく本気でそう思っていますから。
That's not just flattery. I seriously meant it. That wasn't humility. After Tomoe was transferred from the youth department to the first investigation division, Hanjo became her boss in a new role as a special investigator of unresolved cases. Hanjo was a veteran detective on the non-career path who climbed the ranks at the police station all the way from a patrol officer. Jeez, wow. He had a strong Ibaraki accent thanks to his local heritage, and he was intensely emotional, so Tomoe had many a conflict with him during their time together. But even so, after accompanying him during on-site investigations and hearing pieces of his stories at investigation meetings, she was shocked by the insight and analytical abilities he had gained during his experience. I think my voice needs to be a bit louder here. Sorry.
犯人みんな現場を見ろ
Don't look at the criminal! Look at the crime scene!
He almost has like a Yakuza accent, like you'd hear like, Grah! You know, like that. After saying that, Hanjo would grab Tomoe out of the data room of the Special Investigation Office, where she was summarizing reports and reviewing evidence and investigation materials, and force her to visit the actual crime scenes. Even after the blood and corpses were removed. Even after the marks and traces of chalk left by the forensics team had weathered and disappeared. Even after the traces of the crime had faded, he'd spent hours looking over the crime scene, always telling Tomoe to do the same.
見ないか
Mina-kun!
おめえさんなんで刑事部で捜査一課に未解決事件を取り扱う部署の特別捜査係が置かれてっかわかっか
You're part of the First Division Special Investigation Team, handling unresolved cases. You understand what that means, right?
何か有力な証拠が見つかった時にすぐ捜査に入るため
Oh,
です
now
か？
she gets a sprite. Searching for some kind of decisive evidence to resolve the investigation quickly. Right? Why didn't she have a sprite in the conversation before?
ちげそんなことじゃねえ
I guess they're just, you know, keeping the Higurashi tradition of, you know, it being completely random when they do show the sprite or when they don't. At least after, it was consistent up until Higurashi, after which, like, they just said kind of, fuck it.
Wrong. That's not it at all.
Hanjo went on to explain. When it comes to crime scenes, traces of the criminal are most visible immediately after the incident. But on the other hand, investigators often view the scene with a stereotypical prejudice. For example, if a bloody knife is found on the ground, they'll think that's a weapon. That was the weapon. Yep. How many times has that happened in Phoenix Wright and Danganronpa where we've had like a fake weapon, like, you know, that throws you off and takes up time in the first part of the case of the trial. The wounds and traces left on the corpse can suggest the cause of death. As a result, a picture of the culprit can be determined from there. The suspect can be arrested, charged, and prosecuted based on that information. In most cases, conventional investigators are able to catch the culprit that way. But sometimes, that initial assessment is too hasty, and it is impossible to identify the culprit without recognizing the secret or trick behind it. After a certain length of time, those unresolved cases are abandoned by headquarters and handed off to a team of special investigators known as continuation detectives. Oh, so she handled the cold cases. And the special investigators must perform another examination to determine if anything was missed in the original investigation materials.
だからといっておめえ、未解決事件の処理ってのを残務整理がなんかと思ってねえか。
That happened quite a lot in Higurashi, Void Dweller, especially near the end, where we had like even in Matsure Bayashi, we had like several really important characters that just didn't have sprites. It was just very odd, especially considering at that point, Ryukishi surely had access to help and everything. Like it can be forgiven for the question arcs and that, because he was basically working alone. He was a one-man army, making the whole thing on his own. But you know, with the answer arcs, as those went on, you know, Higurashi became famous. You know, the first season of the anime came out before even Matsurubayashi did. And so it's not like he had any shortage of access to help from that point on. I don't know why he chose to just leave those characters spriteless. Either way, he definitely fixed that in Umineko. And I hope that, that continued on to Sakonia as well. And I can't wait to look at Higambana eventually and see how he does with that. And I know for Rose Gun Days, he got someone else to do the sprites, as is immediately apparent. If you've ever seen the beautiful sprites for Rose Gun Days.
That said, don't you think the process of handling unresolved cases is more about settling unfinished business?
そんなことは。
Well, no, she couldn't say it. It was too painful. So Tomoe kept silent. Yep, because that's her whole backstory is an unresolved case. As an unresolved case is an incident where veteran detectives and forensic investigators deeply scrutinized the case and still couldn't identify the culprit. It was completely impossible for a rookie who knew nothing about investigation to reach a breakthrough simply by reviewing the case materials for a while. Deep down, Tomoe thought that, so she was certain there was more to investigating unresolved cases than rearranging files.
資料をまとめったけなら捜査一課にはいらねえが。
First Investigation Division doesn't need a simple investigation material reorganizer.
特捜係は欧米でいうところのプロファイラー。犯罪心理分析官の役どころだべ。
A special investigator is what Western criminal psychology analysts refer to as a profiler.
プロファイラーですか？
Profiler? Huh?
おめえを現場に連れてきた。そういうことじゃ。
That's why I bring you to crime scenes.
Hanjo said that you can't feel the atmosphere of the incident without probing the crime scene. There will always be some trace of the culprit left at the crime scene. If the crime is a murder, doubly so. For example, the criminal's footprints, even if they don't remain in so simple a form. Where did the culprit go before the crime? And how did he get away afterward? The method, the route. By examining these items one by one, you can identify what psychological state the culprit was in, and are naturally able to see what he intended to do.
プロファイリング捜査ってのは日本じゃまだほとんど知られてねえ捜査技術だが、欧米じゃもう実践投入されて成果を上げてる。
Profile and investigation techniques aren't very well known in Japan, but they're already being practiced in the West and getting results.
いずれこの先捜査の主流になってくべ。
In a way, I see it become a mainstay of future investigations.
本庄さん。
Honjo-san.
犯罪はどんどん多様化してその技術も上がってる。
Crimes have gotten more and more diverse, and their techniques more sophisticated.
警察も新しい手法を取り入れるのは当然のことだ。
So it's only natural for police to adopt these new methods.
オーラたちの役割は犯罪者をとっ捕まえること。
Our role is to catch the culprit.
そのためには何でも味方にでも武器にでもしろ。
In order to do that, we should use any weapon at our disposal.
経験とか知識とかまして権威にこだわっていては
Knowledge
刑
and,
事は務まんねえぞ。
knowledge and experience are more fitting for a detective than appealing to authority.
はい。
Right. Older people tend to be more hard-headed, but Hanjo had spent time working on the front lines, so he of all people understood the urgency of an impending danger. Tomoe genuinely wanted to learn from his eagerness and flexible insights. Additionally, Hanjo taught her to pay careful attention to the people related to the victim after the incident. Has anyone gained some benefit from the victim's death? Is anyone exhibiting suspicious movements after the incident? In general, these behavioral patterns can't be seen immediately after the incident. Those ashamed of their dark secrets are aware that any misbehavior would give the police reason to suspect them. However, once police activity seems to slow down, or when they reach the limit of their patience, that's when these behaviors manifest. And since many of those actions can cast suspicion on them, you can often find clues with a little careful attention. Thus, by finding new ideas and clues as time moves on, you can solve incidents that on-site investigators had no choice but to abandon. That was the job of the special investigator.
数年前に教わったことですが、今でも昨日のことのように覚えています。
Even though it's been years since you taught me that, I still remember it like it was yesterday.
あんなことも言ったけんな。
I did say something like that.
Tomoe's eyes narrowed as she reminisced about old times, and she gazed at Hanjo as he tried to hide his embarrassment by gulping down his coffee. Back then, she was a psychology major who had gained insight during her time working in the youth division. No, looking at it in hindsight, her confidence was motivated by her pride. So at first glance, a special investigation officer seemed like someone who manages materials on unresolved cases, rather than a person actually handling real cases. But when she spent time on the front lines, she recognized it more as being conscious of knowledge and information. Hanjo could tell from Tomoe's regular behavior that she was sharp. He spoke to her with a serious expression on his face to cut off any pride from the root. I think my voice is getting a little low on this thing.
完全犯罪なんて絶対にありえねえ。
There's no such thing as a perfect crime.
関係してきた資料をよーく調べれば必ず答えは見つかる。
If you carefully examine the clues, you can always find the answer.
Oh my god, apparition. Yeah. Let me tell you what he said. I think this makes the third police character with a name that starts with the letter H and is spriteless and sounds familiar. That is absolutely right. Oh my god. We also have that other random ass detective in Tokihogushi. I do remember. He was like the only one. He was in the room and he was the only one without a sprite. That's why he stood out to me. I gave him a really wacky voice for some reason. That is pretty crazy.
だから特別捜査係を務める刑事は不敬分析力と比例視野を持つ優秀な人材でなきゃいけねえんだ。
So, the detective acting as a special investigator needs to be a talented individual with deep analytical skills and a broad perspective.
資料集めの雑用係じゃねえ。
Not some clerk gathering documents.
For someone as focused on improvement as Tomoe, a harsh reprimand like that was being splashed with cold water. But at the same time, it was a pivotal moment to reflect on her own pride and inability. Without those experiences as a special investigator, she would have become an uninspired detective, unable to challenge methods of investigation. After that, she memorized and analyzed an unthinkable amount of information relating to past cases. As a result, Tomoe was able to achieve exceptional results. If not for that, she would have never been selected for the recommended group, and probably would have gone on working at some prefectural police station somewhere.
だから推薦組に選ばれたのは私の能力じゃない。
So it wasn't my latent ability that got me chosen for the recommended group.
自分の知らなかった技術や視点を教えてくれた本庄さんの下で働くことができたからなんだ。
It was the perspective and techniques I learned while working under Honjo-san. Thank you, Oe. As she pondered that, Tomoe once again realized how lucky she was. Come to think of it, this was also true of the youth department. Back then, Section Chief Kishimoto had already retired to the countryside. To write Naruto, I'm guessing. But he taught her how to connect with kids with various problems. He also thought about Tomoe's excessively straight-laced conduct and way of thinking, and gave her earnest advice on how to rectify it. In that sense, she was blessed with supportive superiors, even as far back as her time with the Ibaraki Prefectural Police Department.
そんなわけですから、これからも初心を忘れず頑張っていくつもりです。
That's why I'll keep doing my best, without forgetting what brought me here.
どうか今後ともご指導をよろしくお願いします。
Please, accept my thanks for your continued guidance, both now and in the future.
Yeah.
わかったわかった、任せとけ。
I get it. Leave it to me.
今度戻ってきた時はもっとこぎ使ってやっかんな。
This actor is clearly having a good time with this role.
Next time you come back, I'll try to be useful.
Tomoe's business here should have just been a friendly greeting, but thanks to the incident she found out about yesterday, she had serious business to attend to. That was the reason she requested they talk in the meeting room rather than the open reception area.
で、お電話でお話しした件ですが、
So, about what we discussed on the phone.
ああ、そんだな。
Ah, right.
これがその資料だべ。
Here's the document.
As he said that, I keep thinking Hojo because of Final Fantasy. Hanjo spread a document open on the opposite side of the table with a serious expression completely lacking the earlier jovial atmosphere. There was a detailed report from the scene of the incident, and a photo of the scene was clipped to the side.
ひどい状態ですね。
An awful situation.
8階の窓からの転落だったから、顔はぐちゃぐちゃになってて、
Jesus
誰がわかんねえ。
Christ. What made him do that? Like, he's not from Hinamizawa. Why would he do this?
He fell from the window on the 8th floor, so his face was trashed beyond recognition.
親に身元を確認したんは、普段から着てたパジャマと肩口の黒子。
Oh my god, you're right. Also, Satoko. With that, yeah, her last name is also Hojo. Damn.
He fell from the window on the 8th floor, so his face was trashed beyond recognition. His parent confirmed the identity based on the pajamas he always wore and a mole on his shoulder.
Oh my god. Could you imagine having to do that? Jesus Christ.
とても顔は見せられんかった。
No, thank God.
I couldn't show them the face.
Jesus Christ. Tomoe glanced at the picture and quickly flipped it over. It was painfully difficult to bear.
確かに、親御さんには見せられないな。
Absolutely. I could never show this to his parents. She shook her head to chase off her harrowing thoughts and took a deep breath to calm herself. She didn't even feel like confirming the mole that Hanjo pointed out. Even though she had very little conversation with the victim, Kohei Sawamura, she did recognize the face from an old case she worked on with Orishi. And that made the difference between her memories of him in life and his current state that much more painful.
発見時にはすでに被害者は死亡。
The victim was already dead at the time it was discovered.
おそらくは即死だべな。
Most likely instant death.
被害者のいた病室には遺書らしきものは見当たらなかったけど、
We haven't found anything resembling a will in the victim's hospital room, but
自殺と事故死、両面で当たってる。
Check behind the bed.
we're investigating the possibilities of both suicide and an accident.
殺人の可能性は？
And what is the possibility of murder?
事件当時、病室は施錠されて密室だった。
It was a closed room. Hospital room was locked at the time of the incident.
看護師数名の証言を聞いても、最後の検温から部屋に出入りした人間の姿はねえ。
Even after listening to the testimony of several nurses, nobody went in and out of the room after the last time they took his temperature.
防犯カメラの記録映像にも不審者の姿はなし。
And the footage recorded by the security cameras didn't reveal any suspicious personnel.
で、自分から思い余って落ちたが、外を覗き込もうとかなんとかして足を滑らせたか。
So, either he jumped down of his own volition, or was trying to peek out the window and lost his footing.
そのどっちかってのが 諸月の見解だべ。
The official opinion is one or the other.
ですか。
Is that so? Tomoe also thought that this reasoning sounded valid. There was no doubt that Kohei-sama Mura was deeply mentally scarred after the earlier incident. Tomoe could assert to that herself. Therefore, even though there was a possibility the fall was an accident, it was far more likely that his mental instability drove him to jump. Plus, the testimony of the nurses and the fact that the tapes didn't reveal anyone suspicious were both evidence that the movement was impossible. However,
なんか腑に落ちない。
something doesn't add up. I don't think so either. In fact, she was starting to feel suspicious because the conditions were a little too consistent. Plus, thinking about it from the victim's point of view, there were clearly a few odd points.
どうした、ともえちゃん。
What is it, Tomoe-chan?
被害者が転落死したこの日って土曜日ですよね。
The day the victim fell was a Saturday, right?
なんでこの日だったんでしょう。
Why that day in particular?
あ？それはどういう意味だ？
What are you getting at?
私が少し前に別件で聞き込みをした時に教えてもらったんですが、
Something I learned while working a different case a little while ago.
毎週土曜日はこの被害者の少年の女友達というより恋人が遠方からお見舞いに訪れる日だったかと思います。
Every Saturday, the victim's female friend, or perhaps a lover, would travel from a long distance to visit him. Tomoe pulled out her police notebook and flipped through it. Tomoe could still remember the contents since they were so recent, so she was able to find the page easily.
やっぱりそうだ。
Just a thought.
それに実際、ほら、第一発見者に尾崎渚って女子生徒の名前があります。
And not only that, look here. The first person to discover the body was a female student named Nagisa Ozaki.
この子が被害者と前の学校で交際していた相手ですよ。
And she was involved with the victim at his old school.
それで？
So?
これは私が女性だからなのかもしれませんが、
Maybe I'm only saying this because I'm a woman.
自分の彼女が面会にやってくる日にその子と会わないまま飛び降りて死のうと考えるでしょうか。
I just think you're just thinking about relationships, you know? Who knows how he felt about her? But do you think he'd jump to his death without meeting her on the day she always comes to visit?
それが私にはどうしても腑に落ちません。
That doesn't sit right with me. Exactly. But I think we need to know a bit more how he felt about her. The thoughts that drive a person to suicide and escape from reality are often accompanied by a desire to share those final thoughts and intentions with someone other than yourself. For example, resentment, apology, despair. Thus, the method and location of death can in many cases reveal something about the victim's intentions. I think what could also be likely is that he did leave a suicide note and Nagisa found it, but she didn't show it to the police because it revealed something that she didn't want revealed. That's what I'm thinking. Judging by what they were discussing earlier, maybe it was something that would have damaged his reputation. Among the methods of suicide, psychological studies consider jumping a very egocentric method. First of all, you can't even imagine how much your body will be destroyed by the impact, and there is a strange sense of elation and freedom that comes from showing that death to others. In other words, the emotional motivations include intense despair and twisted exhibitionism.
飛び降り自殺は自分の醜い姿を見せつけることで周囲の同情を買って自己満足を得るか、自分が怨恨を抱く相手に罪悪感を煽らせて復讐する行為だ。
Jumping suicides isn't an act intended to garner sympathy by showing your ugly form to the people around you, or to force guilt upon the person who has wronged you.
だとしたら自分の恋人が帰った後ならともかく、見舞いに来るのを待ってる間にそこまでどす黒い感情を持つだろうか。
If so, could he have truly felt such dark feelings while waiting for his girlfriend to come visit him? Tomoe simply couldn't convince herself of that.
おお、ちゃんと実践してんな。
You've really been practicing properly.
それが行動分析っちゅうもんだ。
Now that's behavioral analysis.
Hanjo had a huge grin on his face, since he was thinking the same thing. Tomoe couldn't help but respond with a wry smile. In any event, this was their first time seeing the case files. So she came up with that thought immediately. Battle-hardened Hanjo realized that right away.
すると本庄さんもやはりそちらの見解ですか。
So, Hanjo-san, does that mean you have the same opinion?
鑑識と所轄署の連中は7、3の割合で自殺と見てるかね。
The forensics and precinct staff see it as a 7 in 10 chance of being suicide.
俺はむしろ7、3で殺人の読みだ。
On the other hand, read it as a 7 in 10 chance of murder.
Murder, really?
だからいずれ一家に取り上げる予定だったが、Tomoeちゃんの話を聞いててなお一層確信したな。
I was planning to take it up with the First Division. Now I'm much more interested in hearing your thoughts, Tomoe-chan.
その根拠は何ですか。
And what's the basis for your assessment?
これだ。
This.
Oh, what does he have? Hanjo pulled 2 photos out of his breast pocket as he said that, then handed them to Tomoe. The first picture was in a large photo of a window frame taken at night. Scratch marks were left on the bottom and right side of the window frame, and the faint light of a luminol reaction could be seen to the right. And the second picture showed the back of a left hand laying half open on the asphalt, most likely belonging to the victim. Oh, the nail on the index finger was covered in blood and peeling off.
沢村さんは私の担当でしたので。
That's right. I was in charge of Sawamura-san.
記録はこれになります。
Here are his records. The older nurse named Hiranuma pulled a file out of the bookshelf as she said that, then handed it to Tomoe. She seemed to have a meticulous personality and gave a polite but thorough description.
検温してから火災報知器の誤作動がありましたので、その対処に各部屋を回ってからこの詰め所に。
There was a malfunction in the fire alarm after we measured his temperature, so I had to visit every room to deal with it before returning to the station.
それからだいたい4時頃に彼の友達が面会に来られましたので、私が部屋までお連れしました。
After that, a friend of his came to visit around 4 o'clock, so I escorted her to his room.
聞き込みを行った刑事からの話では、部屋に鍵がかかっていたと。
I heard from the other detectives that his room was locked.
普段は施錠しない患者さんだったので変だなと思いまして。
Right, I thought it was strange, because patients normally don't lock their rooms. Tomoe quickly skimmed through the file's contents while flipping through the pages. Oh, hello, Brian. I haven't seen you before. Welcome to the stream. No problem. I love Higurashi. This is the console arcs right now. This is not the proper Higurashi, but I hope you'll enjoy it just the same. It was almost identical to the report summarized in the investigation materials.
病室を見せてもらえますか？
Can you show me the patient's room?
ええ、どうぞ。
Yes, of course.
こちらになります。
Right this way.
ここから落ちたというわけですか。
So, he fell from here?
ええ。最初に発見したのはそのお友達でしたが、パニックになって暴れて。
Right. His friend was the first to discover him, but she started to panic.
静止するのも一苦労でした。
I had a hard time restraining her. She was most likely confused and unable to accept this as reality. It was far too burdensome a tale for an early adolescent.
で、発見してすぐに警察に通報。
So you reported it to the police immediately after discovery.
それからセンターの詰め所にいる主治医に連絡。
Then you contacted the doctor in charge of the center station.
その流れで間違いありませんね。
I'm not mistaken about any of that, right?
ええ、その通りです。
Yes, that's correct.
なるほど。
I see. Tomoe nodded while scribbling Hironoma's story into her notebook. Then she turned her attention toward the window frame in the photo.
この傷は被害者のものですよね。
These scratches were caused by the victim.
どうしてついたのでしょう。
But why are they here?
さあ、私には何とも。
Well, in my opinion,
ひょっとしたら窓枠を掴んで外を見ていた時にバランスを崩して落下してしまったのかもしれません。
he probably lost his balance while looking outside and tried to grab the window frame.
「それにしても、どうしてこの病室には鉄格子がないのですか？
That's a good question. At any rate, why aren't there any bars on the window of the hospital room? Tomoe directly asked about the item that was bothering her. The victim was being hospitalized on the top floor, so it wouldn't be surprising for this hospital to have them, in the consideration for the patient's safety. Not to mention, the patients hospitalized in this particular ward were...
もう一度お尋ねします。
Let me ask another question then.
このフロアの病室にいる患者も全て精神科医の診断で入院している人たちなんですよね。
All the patients hospitalized on this floor have been diagnosed for psychiatric treatment, correct?
はい、そうです。
Yes, that's right.
そのためドアも外部から錠がかけられるようになっています。
That's why the doors are designed so they can be locked from the outside.
それなら窓に転落防止の対策を施さないのはなぜですか？
In which case, why have no measures been taken to prevent falling out of the windows?
鉄格子だと監禁されたように患者が感じて治療に逆効果を与える場合が多いのです。
Iron bars often cause the patient to feel confined, which is an adverse effect on the treatment.
そ
Makes
れ
sense.
にもともと窓には鍵がかかって本当なら簡単には開かない仕組みになっています。
Oh, interesting. Plus, the windows are equipped with locks, so they can't simply be opened.
それが開いていた。
And yet, this one was open.
どうしてです？
Why is that?
すみません。私どもの見落としです。
I'm sorry. That was an oversight on my part.
換気のために一度鍵を開けたのですが、そのまま忘れてしまって。
Oh, ow, damn. I unlocked it once to air the room out, but I forgot about it.
弁解の余地もございません。
It's inexcusable. Next, Tomoe examined the calendar on the wall beside the bed. Cutesy, colorful characters were printed on it. It looked like it was designed for girls.
これは被害者が？
Did this belong to the victim?
いえ、それはお友達の尾崎さんが持ってきたものです。
No, his friend Ozaki-san brought that.
なるほど。
I see. She carefully finished the page to see the next page underneath. It was currently October, so there were 2 more pages. Those ellipses always trip me up. It makes me think that something is loading, when in fact it's just telling me to click forward. And finally, Tomoe approached the door, pushed the button on the knob, and closed it. God damn, that fucking gun sound effect, I swear. It wasn't a normal door where you turn a tab to lock the door. The lock apparently prevented the auto knob from rotating. So, rather than locking before closing, the mechanism required the door to be closed before locking.
そういえば、被害者の発見前に火災報知器が鳴っていたとの話でしたが。
By the way, you mentioned that the fire alarm went off sometime before the victim was discovered.
いつくらいの時間だったかわかりますか？
Do you know approximately what time that happened?
確か3時頃だったと思います。
I think it was around 3 o'clock.
鳴ってからしばらく各所を見て回ったので、3分ほど鳴り続いていたかと。
I went and looked around for a while when it went off, so it probably continued for about 3 minutes.
わかりました。ありがとうございます。
Understood. Thank you very much. Tomoe gave her a bow, then made her way out of the hospital. Oh, back at the graveyard. Alright, you guys, I'm just gonna take a little bit of a bathroom break. I will be right back. All right, and we are back. Sorry about that. Yeah, I'm okay. Don't worry about that. Sorry, you guys. Okay. The autumn sky was clear, and a refreshing breeze blew by.
今日は割と暖かいな。
Rather warm today. Feeling a little sweat on her forehead, Tomoe pulled a handkerchief from her pocket and wiped it away. The cobblestone paved path glittered in the sunlight, scattering grains of light all about.
さすがにセミはもう鳴いてないか。
Seems like the Higurashi have already stopped crying. Nakakorori. Seems like the cicadas have already stopped crying.
あ、
Oh. The autumn leaves fell down and fluttered right before her eyes. Oh, that's a lovely background. That is a lovely background. The base of a distant mountain showed the mix of vermilion and yellow hues, and the leaves of the surrounding trees were just as vividly colored.
綺麗だろうな。
How pretty,
こんな場所でなかったら。
if not for the current location. And that's definitely true. Tomoe let out a sigh, then looked over the surrounding area. She was currently a short distance west of the city center, in a dilapidated cemetery. Oh. Judging by the map given to her by the groundskeeper, there was another person near her destination. Moving closer to get a better look, it was a girl she recognized, Nagisa Ozaki. Oh, she's gonna meet her right here. Now, yeah, I was gonna give you a new voice, didn't I? But, do you think I should stick with the Rena voice or try to give her a new voice? Because even though it looks like Rena will probably be heavily involved with this chapter, I don't think we're gonna meet her. Just based on the way these console arcs work. And I don't think she's gonna have very much dialogue, so I think I might stick with the Rena voice for her, ironically. Before long, Nagisa noticed the approaching footsteps and turned toward Tomoe. Then she lightly bowed her head before turning her gaze back to the gravestone in front of her.
ご無沙汰してます。
Long time no see.
お参りしてもいいかしら。
Would it be alright for me to pay him a visit? Nagisa gave no answer to that, and simply shuffled her feet so she wasn't standing directly in front of the gravestone. Tomoe took that as an affirmation and said, "Thank you." Then sat the chrysanthemum she brought from the local flower shop down next to the grave. There was already a beautifully blooming cosmos flower sitting there, most likely placed there by Nagisa herself. She lit a bundle of incense sticks at the nearby brazier, then sat them down to the indentations of the incense burner.
こんな形でもう一度会いに来たくなかったわ。
I didn't want to see him again like this.
おためごかしな言い方に聞こえるかもしれないけど、私は早く元気になって元の通りになってほしかった。
It might be an odd thing for me to say, but I wanted him to get better quickly and go back to the way he was before.
彼にも、それにあなたにも。
Both him and you too. Tomoe could hear a heavy breath even though her back was turned. Honestly, there were several things she wanted to ask Nagisa about regarding this case. However, Tomoe recognized how much the girl's heart must ache, so she repressed the urge. The person most hurt by this incident was none other than Nagisa. Tomoe wasn't so callous as to force that on her just because of the opportunity.
ごめんね、お邪魔して。
I'm sorry for intruding.
それじゃ、元気でね。
Anyway, take care. After saying only that, Tomoe turned away from Nagisa.
ここに納骨したの、ついさっきなんです。
He was only just laid to rest here.
Huh? That moment. Tomoe looked back as she heard Nagisa muttering. Nagisa clenched her blouse near her chest and furrowed her eyebrows to endure the emotions welling up inside her.
1階に降りた時には白い布をかぶせられてて、病院の人たちに遮られて近づけなくて。
When I got down to the first floor, he was already covered in white cloth, and hospital staff wouldn't let me get close.
その後すぐに警察の人が運び出して、戻ってきた時には骨になって。
The police carried him away immediately after that, and by the time I saw him again, he was already ashes.
Oh, they cremated him.
結局私、浩平くんの顔、最後まで見せてもらえませんでした。
In the end, I never got to see Kohei-kun's face.
Tomoe thought that the outcome was for the best. Nothing good would come of showing such a drastically warped human form to a child. In fact, Madoka was so scarred by seeing her parents' burned bodies that she was still suffering from it even now.
だからかな。
That's why.
私、まだ信じられないんです。
I still can't believe it.
浩平くん、本当に死んじゃったのかな。
Is Kohei-kun really dead?
本当はみんなが後で私をからかおうと嘘ついてるだけじゃないかな。
It is not just a hoax that everyone will tease me about later.
尾崎さん、
Ozaki-san.
浩平くん、入院してすぐの頃は病室から逃げ出したことがあるんです。
Kohei-kun escaped from his hospital room right after he was admitted there.
入り口のドアに鍵がかかっているから、窓ガラスを割ってパジャマ姿で。
Since the door was locked, he broke the window, still dressed in his pajamas.
怖い夢にうなされたってひどく怯えていました。
He had a terrible dream, so he was scared.
Tomoe had probably heard the same story before. At the same time, she was heading to the hospital room in the back of the first floor to meet him. But his parents refused to cooperate, so she had to go home. And that was when she met Nagisa. And when the parents weren't there, she was able to meet him face to face once more with Nagisa's consent. Of course, she was only able to make small talk, but his pale, worn-out appearance was plain to see during their short time together.
でも、先々週に病室が1階から8階に移って、すごく喜んでました。
Oh, well, that's a red flag right there.
But he was so happy when his hospital room was moved from the first floor to the 8th, the week before last.
ここは景色もいいし、病状が軽くなった人が入るフロアだって、看護師さんから教えてもらったって。
He said that the view around there was really nice, and the nurse told him that patients were moved to that floor when their condition was improving.
それに最後に会った日には次の週の診断で退院の日がわかるって言ってたんです。
Plus, last time I saw him, he said he was going to learn the date of his discharge after his diagnosis the following week.
だからあの日そのことが聞けると思って私一番綺麗なお花を持って。
Oh my god.
So when I heard that, I decided to bring in the most beautiful flowers I could find on that day.
早く退院して一緒の大学に行こうって約束してくれて。
Jesus Christ.
He promised me that get out of the hospital soon that we go to college together.
浩平君は頭いいから私浩平君の行きたいところに合わせられるように成績上げようと頑張ってたのに。
Kohi-kun was really smart, so it's working really hard to get into the place where he wanted to go.
なのに
And yet,
Nagisa's voice trembled, while huge tears spilled from her eyes. The drops came overflowing down her cheeks, one after another, and no matter how much she wiped them away with the back of her hands, they wouldn't stop.
刑事さん、
detective,
While still sobbing, she looked up and turned towards Tomoe, and then,
これってやっぱり
so that's it after all.
レイナの言ってたお社様のたたりなんですか。
It's the curse of Yoshida-sama that Rena mentioned.
it is so surreal to hear people say Rena. Jeez, it's like my brain does not want to say that name.
え
Huh?
だっておかしいじゃないですか。
Because it's so strange, isn't it?
みんなの言う通り浩平君は時々変な夢を見てうなされることもありました。
It's like everyone said. Kohi-kun did occasionally have weird dreams and nightmares.
だけど私との約束を忘れて飛び降りて死にたくなるほど悩んでいたなんて
But
でも考えられない。
I can't believe he would ignore his promise to me and want to kill himself!
Seeing the desperately sorrowful color of her eyes, painfully squeezed at Tomoe's chest.
レイナに関わったせいでこんなことになって。
This is all because of Rena!
なのにあの子は謝りもせずにいなくなった。
But she just disappeared without apologizing!
みんなあの子が
All because of that girl! That girl!
だけど沢村くんは竜宮さんの紹介であなたと交際するようになったのよね。
Really? I didn't know that. But Ryugu-san was the reason you were even introduced to Samura-kun.
それなのにそんな優しい子がどうして彼を傷つけようなんて考えたのかしら。
And yet, how could such a kind-hearted girl have even considered hurting him?
そんなこと知らない。
I don't know!
知るわけない。
I don't know!
落ち着いて尾崎さん。
Calm down, Ozaki-san.
浩平くんを殺した犯人を捕まえるためには大事なことなの。よく考えてみて。
If we're going to catch the person who killed Koei-kun, we'll have to think clearly. Calm down, Ozaki-san. If we're going to catch the person who killed Koei-kun, we have to think clearly. Now she's interested. Tomoe lowered her face to Nagisa's height to look her in the eyes, and gave her a gentle look to calm her down. Looking at that expression, Nagisa relaxed a little of the anger and frustration welling up inside her. She had a moment to idly think, then muttered quietly.
刑事さんは
Detective.
何？
What is it?
浩平くんが殺されたって思ってくれるんですか？
Do you think that Kohi-kun was murdered?
ええ、それ以外考えられない。
That's right. I can't imagine it as anything else.
彼は誰かに殺されたんだと思う。
I think someone killed him. After hearing that, Nagisa began spilling huge tears once again. However, that a slightly different tone than the angry, sorrowful tears from a moment ago.
誰も信じてくれなかったんです。
Nobody would believe me.
浩平君が自分から死ぬわけない。
Kohei-kun wouldn't take his own life.
まして事故なんて。
An accident is even less likely.
なのにみんな密室だったから事故だ自殺だって勝手に決めつけて。
Nevertheless, everyone arbitrarily decided it was an accident or suicide because it was a closed room.
犯人を探してくださいって頼んでも誰も。
Even though I begged them to look for the killer, nobody would.
大丈夫よ。
It's all right.
少なくとも私はこれは事件だって思っているから。
Because at the very least, I agree with you.
本当に
Seriously?
ええ、
That's right.
今聞いた限りだと沢村くん亡くなる前の週に今週の診断次第で退院できるかもって話していたのよね。
That's right. You said just now, a week before his death, Samura-kun said he might be able to leave in a week, depending on his diagnosis, right? Nagisa deeply nodded. When Nagisa had sat right there, completely stripped away the uneasy sensation Tomoe was feeling.
あなたの言う通り、部屋のカレンダーを見たら次の月に退院予定日が書いてあった。
It's just as you said. When I checked the calendar in his room, his scheduled discharge date was written down the next month.
多分あなたが来る時にその話をするつもりだったんだと思う。
I think he was planning to tell you about it when you got here.
なのにそれを告げずに、ましてあなたの来る日に自殺なんてありえない。
And yet he'd commit suicide on the day of your arrival, without telling you? Impossible.
どう考えても不自然だわ。
No matter how you think about it, it's unnatural.
じゃあ
Then
事故って可能性ももちろんない。
And of course, there is no chance it was an accident.
そもそも窓から転落するような行動をする理由がないし、最後に会った看護師も検温時に異常を認めていない。
There's no reason for him to get close enough to the window to fall in the first place. Thank you so much, Apparition. And the last nurse that spoke with him said that nothing was unusual when his temperature was taken.
間違いなくこれは殺人事件よ。
This is a murder, no doubt about it. Then, Tomoe stood up straight and glanced at her watch. She still had a little more time before the express train arrived.
尾崎さん、
Ozaki-san,
あなたには辛いことかもしれないけど、真実を突き止めるために協力してほしいの。
this may be painful for you, but I'd like your cooperation in order to find the truth.
この後、時間少しだけいい？
Do you have a little time after this?
約束する。
I promise you,
必ず犯人を捕まえてみせるから。
no matter what, I'll catch the killer.
Eh?
All right?
okay.
Here we go, next chapter. So you think it'll be about 15 minutes into the next part? That is absolutely perfect, Apparition. I think we actually might be ahead of schedule in that case. We could probably go on to the next break after that if it's not too late, but I also don't want to push it. Monday, October 11th, 1982. Public holiday. Ah, there's that familiar car and roadway again. I remember this background from the main arcs. She in Okonomiya? This is in Okonomiya where Shion met Satoshi and Keiichi. I'm finally here. Tomoe stepped out of the car and stretched her back. After going round and round town searching for a place to park, she finally found a narrow temporary parking lot in the one corner of the downtown area next to the station, so she parked her car there. Since this was a fairly rural town, she could see cars both large and small parked along a small street. Apparently, parking enforcement in this area was quite lax, but as a detective, she couldn't intentionally break traffic regulations.
隣が外車でちょっと怖かったけど。
The car next to mine is a slightly intimidating foreign car, though. As she walked away from the parking spot, she noticed cabaret clubs and bars lined along the road. In all likelihood, the thugs that came in that car were headed there. A detective's car is parked right next to the gangster's car. How bizarre.
にしても、駆け内からだと結構あったわね。
Anyway, that was a long drive from Tokihogushi.
やっぱり電車にしておけばよかったかな。
Anyway, that was a long drive from Tokihogushi. Maybe I should have taken the train after all. Her mind had fogged over after driving down the slender, meandering mountain roads. She couldn't relax even for a moment. In one particularly awful moment, she relaxed off the accelerator thinking she was approaching a slope, but then a hairpin turn suddenly emerged. My God! Just a short time ago, she was thinking about breaking through the guardrail and plummeting to the bottom of the valley, and a chill ran down her spine.
里帰りの人たちはあんな道でも平気なんだろうか。
Are the other visitors able to handle those roads? She suddenly recalled what she had heard from the regional affairs staff the other day. The number of people relocating to Kakuichi City from other prefectures has skyrocketed in recent years. Among them, an especially significant number were moving there from Okonomiya and its neighboring village, Hinamizawa. After paying the manager of the parking lot, she began looking over the cityscape once again. The area in front of the station had developed more than she expected. It looked far more crowded than her grandmother's version of Higurashi. A housewife on the way home after shopping rang the bell on her bike. then swerved past Tomoe. A group of children dressed in baseball uniforms came round the corner up ahead making a fuss and passed beside her.
今日は大活躍だったな。
We did great today.
相手のピッチャーすっげえ悔しがってたぜ。
The pitcher on this other team must be so sore.
お前だって最終回のピンチであの外野ぐらいよく取ったよな。
You call that last fly ball when we were really in a pinch? Nice job!
来週もこれくらいガンガン行こうぜ。
Let's go just as hard next week.
The kids were happily heading home from a game, all with smiles on their muddy, sweaty faces. Tomoe got lost in their mood. She watched the little backs walk off, eventually turning around. But just then... Huh? Tomoe suddenly came to a halt when she heard a loud noise come from the direction she just walked away from. Feeling a bit concerned, she retraced her steps to check it out. There was a vacant lot behind a small alley, and 3 motorcycles right next to each other, each laying on the ground after being knocked over in a domino reaction.
What'd you do? Knocking him over.
Oh my god, how many times is this gonna happen? And why are they showing their sprites?
Ah, no way.
Huh?
What you gonna do about it?
ごめんなさい。
Oh my god, Natsumi! I'm sorry, I was just shocked that she's showing up. Oh no. I gave her the Rena voice too. God damn it, I'm sorry, I'm just so shocked that she's showing up. I didn't expect her to be here. Oh my god. And she has a new sprite too. That is an adorable outfit. I'm sorry. And right next to where the motorcycles fell, there were 3 young male delinquents threateningly surrounding one other person. It was hard to see the backs of the boys, but the fragile trembling sounded like it was coming from a girl.
ちょっとよそ見してて肘が当たっちゃって。
I was just looking the other way and lightly tapped it with my elbow.
ごめんなさい。ごめんなさい。
I'm sorry.
ちょっと肘当たったじゃねえんだよ。
Lightly tapped it with your elbow.
俺たちの命より大事なバイク派手に倒しておいて謝っただけで済むと思ってんのか。
That bike's worth more than our lives. You think you can just apologize?
その。
Oh well.
The girl's voice was getting smaller and smaller, and Tomoe could hear sobbing mixed in. As soon as she heard that, Tomoe let out a sigh and stepped into the alley. She could see the girl's face in the gap between the boys. The girl with her hair tied in buns on both sides had a terrified, tearful look in her eyes.
どう年前つけろってんだ。
How could you just knock him over? Huh?
口で謝る前に誠意ってものを見せやがれってんだ。
Instead of apologizing with your mouth, Show us something to prove your sincerity.
そんな No 私
Oh God.
Huh? I can't hear you.
金ないんなら態度で示しやがれってんだよ。俺たちにこれから付き合ってなあ。
Oh God.
If you got no money, show some compassion. Go on a date with us, yeah?
おいおい、何年前の不良だよ。
Exactly. Like a date. That's how you phrase it. These guys seem pretty kind of fake. Come on. How old are these delinquents? Seeing the situation with no unfolds in no context, Tomoe was far beyond enraged. She shook her head. At least back in Tokyo, these stereotypical delinquents had gone completely extinct. Moreover, the three of them were ganging up on a single girl. It was well beyond cowardly, truly deplorable. The thugs that Tomoe knew were better than that. They had an unwritten rule not to be violent toward women.
許してください
Please forgive me.
お願いします
I'm begging you.
ちょっと遊びに行くだけだっつーよ。
Let's go play for a little while.
付き合いや。あ
On a date, yeah?
Oh God.
いいところ知ってんだよ。時間あるんだろ？え？
I know a good spot. You got time, right?
Someone help!
おい、そんなビビんなっての。
Hey, why so scared?
こんなに言ってやってんだから危険だろ？
I'm talking to you. Are you listening?
ああ、ダメダメ。
Oh my God! She almost said Zensen Davida. Jeez. Ah, that's no good.
そんな誘い方だと、どんな女の子でも振り向いてくれないわよ。
With an invitation like that, how can you expect a girl to do anything but turn around immediately? Ah! The boys turned back toward Tomoe all at once. They looked so pissed off they were ready to chop someone to bits. But they regained their composure as soon as they realized their enemy was a lady. Their expressions warped into nasty smiles. The girl who was surrounded had a relieved, I'm scared expression on her face as she anxiously watched on.
ま、そりゃそうか。
Well, that's expected. They think some reckless woman passing by stepped in to help the girl. They probably think she's some sucker armed with a leak. Oh my God! Imagine like just Tomoe going on all freaking I forget what that meme is called. Leaks been like on their asses.
What's that, lady?
あんたも一緒に遊びに行きたいってか？
You wanna come play with us too?
遊びに行って誰と？
Play with who?
どこに？
Play with who and where?
決まってんだろ？
Same place as always?
俺たちと一緒にいいことしに行こうぜ。
Jesus Christ.
Wanna come with us for something good?
暇してんだろ。夜まで楽しませてやるぜ。
Got some free time? We'll keep you entertained all night.
どうだ姉ちゃんよ。
How about it, lady?
悪いようにはしないからよ。
We won't do anything bad.
どうだろう、このツッコミどころ満載の誘い文句は。
What's a suitable retort for this fully loaded invitation? She thought for about 2 seconds for something emotionally scathing, and was planning to say something about their disadvantage, but that seemed less relevant than expected. Why are all these words in quotes? And so, Tomoe stared at them with a fake smile and a disgusted look on her face. Then,
バーカ。
idiots.
私を誘うなんざ48億年早いっての。
Idiots. That invitation is 4.8 billion years too early. Woo!
地球創生からやり直してきなさい。
Damn, Tomoe, now you're just hamming it up. You love this. Being the hero. Go back to the creation of the earth and start over.
なんだとこら。
Is that so?
調子こいてんじゃねえぞこのガキ。
I don't like the tone of this, brat.
男みたいな顔しやがって。
Oh, you did not! You bastard! Tomoe, fuck him up! Fuck him up!
I don't like the tone of this brat. And her face looks like a man's.
ほう。
Oh. Oh, yeah, Tomoe. Yeah, you and I are thinking the same fucking thing. Tomoe was trying to keep things peaceful, but that one sentence drove her over the edge, all the way to send them to hell. Yup, send them to the fucking edge of hell.
なんだてめえ、やんのか？
What's with you, huh?
あのさ、
Anyway,
言い忘れてたんだけど、私には NG ワードがあってね。
there are a few I forgot to mention. There are a few choice words you shouldn't say around me.
一つはガキ。
The first is brat.
年下に見られるのはいいんだけど、ガキだって言われると最高に頭にくるのよね。
Saying I look young is fine, but saying brat drives me absolutely mad.
これでも結構童顔だってのを気にしてるのにさ。
Just because I have a childish face.
てめえ。
You!
もう一つは男。
The next word is man.
これはさっきのやつよりも強烈にもう問答無用って感じに許せない。
This is even more infuriating than the previous one. No further explanation is necessary, so I won't forgive you.
どこをどう見たら男だ？
What the hell about me looks like a man?
胸か？
My chest,
身長か？
my height.
やかましい、どっちも大きなお世話だ。
How obnoxious. Either way, it's none of your goddamn business. Woo!
だから私の人生でそれを口にしたやつはみんな。
It's my life. Why does everyone have to talk about it?
裁縫10万億度に片道切符で送ってやるって決まりなんだよ。
I'll give you a one-way ticket straight to the afterlife! Woo!
普通に脅してりゃもう少し穏やかに諭してやったのにね。
Normally, while trying to intimidate someone, you have to be more calm.
じゃ、最後の質問。
Now, one last question.
君たち、生命保険入ってるかな？
Do you guys have life insurance?
オラオラオラオラオラオラオラオラオラ
Yes! Oh my god! Oh my gosh, she did it! Oh my god, she knocked them all the way to the meta world! Oh my gosh, she did it! Oh, wow, that was amazing! Oh my god! That was fantastic! Fan-fucking-tastic! Oh my god! Tomoe decided that was enough punishment for these delinquents, so she let them make their escape and watched them go with a huge smile on her face. She was carrying an extendable baton in her jacket pocket, just in case of emergency, but apparently it wasn't even necessary. For the time being, Tomoe turned back toward the girl who had been absentmindedly watching that punishment for several minutes now. She smiled at the girl and tried talking to her.
大丈夫？
Are you all right?
はい平気です。
I'm fine.
She didn't appear hurt, so apparently they were only threatening her with harsh language. Tomoe heaved a sigh of relief after verifying that.
手に血が。
There's blood on your hand.
はあ、大丈夫よ。
Huh? It's all right.
俺、返り血だから。
It's not my blood. Oh my god. Tomoe. Damn. If Natsumi was gay, if this was imagine if this was Chisato. Instead of Natsumi. She would be having the world's biggest fucking nosebleed. Oh my god. Jeez. Woo! Tomoe smiled at the girl while wiping it away with a wet tissue. It was a bit painful, but she had enough experience to say it wasn't broken, she thought. Probably. Oh my god, this is a great scene!
強いんですね。
Wow, you're tough.
まあね。
Oh well.
これでも剣道3段。
I did make it to stage 3 in Kendo.
そうなんですか？
Really?
突っ込んでよ、関係ないって。
You have to step in, even if you're unrelated.
市内持ってくればよかったな。
It's too bad I didn't bring my bamboo sword. Are we gonna get to see her actually use that in a future arc? Because that'd be amazing. Was there something weird about that answer? The girl burst out into tearful laughter. Her laugh was positively adorable, so Tomoe couldn't help but laugh along with her.
ほら見ろ。笑ってくれる人もいるじゃない。
Oh, Tomoe. See, there are people who smile and laugh with me. Tomoe pictured the face of another person with no sense of humor and cursed them in her mind. I'm guessing it's Fujita.
助けてくれて本当にありがとうございました。
Thank you so much for helping me.
私、
別にいいって。
It's no big deal.
でも、こんな人通りの少ない路地を女の子一人で歩くのは危ないわ。
But it's dangerous for a lone girl to be walking down an alley like this.
次からは気をつけた方がいいわよ。
You should be more careful in the future.
はい。
Right.
ちょっと近道をしようと思っただけなんですけど。
I was just trying to take a little shortcut.
The girl hung her head and sounded terribly apologetic as she said that. Thinking that she was speaking a bit too much like a guardian, Tomoe cleared her throat and then continued in a jovial tone.
それにしても最初声がした時はどこの動物園のゴリラが脱走してきたのかなって思っちゃったわよ。
Anyway, when I first heard their voices, I started to wonder if a gorilla had escaped from the zoo.
都会だったらもはや天然記念物に近いわね。
People like that are an endangered species in the city.
この町のやつらなの？
Are those guys from this town?
多分違うと思います。
I think, they're probably from somewhere else.
私この町であんな人たち今まで見たことないから。
I've, never seen people like them in town before.
That moment. As soon as she heard the word city, the girl's expression stiffened.
じゃああなたは地元の子？
So, are you a local?
いえ。
Oh, no, no, no.
今年の春に引っ越しして今日は里帰りなんです。
I was wondering. Okay, so she did move away before.
I moved away from here back in the spring, and I'm visiting today.
そっか、連休だもんね。
I see. It's a holiday weekend, isn't it?
本当は私も里帰りのはずだったんだけど。
Actually, I'm supposed to be visiting my old home too. Thanks to this, she had to disappoint her grandmother. Although her old-fashioned grandmother would encourage her to be doing something she enjoys rather than relaxing at home.
うん。
Suddenly, Tomoe looked down at the collapsed motorcycles, crouched down and took note of their license plates. They were from another prefecture, just as the girl had suggested. Not only that, but the cover under the keyhole was broken, probably stolen. When she saw that, she pulled a notebook out of her breast pocket and quickly wrote down the license plate numbers.
何？
What is it?
ひょっとして警察の方ですか？
Are you a police officer?
ええ、そうよ。
Yes, that's right.
と言っても今は休暇中なんだけどね。
Although I'm on vacation today. As soon as she found out Tomoe was with the police, the girl's face suddenly turned nervous. It was a typical reaction, but it was a bit disheartening considering that she had just helped the girl.
家って近いの？
Are you close to home?
もし怖かったら途中まで一緒に付き合うけど。
If you're scared, I can walk you part way there.
いえ大丈夫です。
No, I'm alright.
本当にすみませんでした。
I'm really sorry.
あ、ちょっと。
Wait. The girl began walking away with her head down, but Tomoe suddenly called out to her. Then she thought about asking the girl just now for her name, but stopped herself. Nobody really enjoys giving their name to the police. So instead,
私、ミナイって言います。
my name is Minai.
南北の南に井戸の井。
It's written with the kanji for south and well.
もし何か困ったことがあったら遠慮なく相談してね。
If you run into any trouble, don't hesitate to contact me.
できる限り力になるから。
Oh my god! This is precious. I'll do everything in my power to help you. Her face was backlit, so Tomoe could make out her expression very well, but the girl bowed her head once more and then quickly left the area. Even after she went out of view, Tomoe stopped and stood there for a while. Yup, and I remember this coffee shop that a lot of stuff happened in this Okonomiya coffee shop. I know Shion and Kasai stopped here a bunch of times. And Rena also found Rena and Tepe's business here. Okay. And I think this is where we'll stop for today. This was a lovely little episode, I think. I really am enjoying this this chapter, Tokihogushi. Really, I think it's going to be one of my favorites in the end if it keeps up this kind of quality. A lot of really great memorable scenes. Okay, you guys, so tomorrow is some Seabed, and I will see you in, I will see you in 2 days for more Higurashi. If all goes according to plan, of course, barring, some kind of, if I don't feel as up to it, but I will do my best to try. So until then, I will say, so long, farewell, auf Wiedersehen, good night. You are all the sweetest of hearts. See ya.